When you know that something's going to set you off and make you not feel well, you tend to stay away from it. You're like, oh, that's not going to be good for me later. I don't want to deal with that. And that's a lot of what happens to me is I'm kind of like, that's not going to be worth it. So I'm not going to eat it. And I found so many amazing substitutions in the 2.5 years that I've been doing this diet.
Cue music. Places, everybody, places. We're starting in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Autoimmune Hour, where we look at the rise of autoimmune disorders. I've brought together top experts that range from doctors, specialists, nutritionists, researchers, and even those recovering from autoimmune to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information about autoimmunity and how to live your life uninterrupted.
Thank you for joining us here on the Autoimmune Hour with Sharon Sayler. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio. Now, we don't want you to worry about taking too many notes, so you can join the Autoimmune Hour's Courage Club, and we'll send you the transcripts and show notes from every episode. Sign up now at understandingautoimmune.com. Now, back to your host, Sharon Sayler.
Welcome, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com, and it's my honor and a pleasure to be with you here on another brand new episode of the Autoimmune Hour. Oh, my goodness, so much is happening these days. I just spent a couple of minutes chatting with our guest tonight about all these things going on in the world. And, you know, when you have an autoimmune condition on top of that, sometimes it's just hard to know which way to turn and what to do. And she has an amazing story of her own search for optimizing her health and wellness. And her name is Danielle Turco. And as often happens, is she was recommended to me. I love this when you guys say, Sharon, you need to interview so-and-so. And that's what Danielle came via a friend and another guest that we've had on the show. You might remember Crystal Kent. Crystal said, you've got to hear Danielle's story. And it's an amazing story. She was diagnosed with lupus 20 plus years ago. For years, she tried every kind of treatment, even including holistic and Western, Eastern, all kinds, anything that she could find. I think we could all raise our hands like, yeah, I've been there, done that, done all sorts of things. I used to say, well, you know, I don't care if you wave a dead chicken over my head if I feel better, you know, which is a joke because I do care, but let's take that as the joke that it is, because all of us that are going through the optimizing our health with autoimmune understand what we mean by that. And that's like, yeah, we just try so many things, and some of them work and some of them don't. But what she found really worked for her. She began to research diet and lupus even after medical professionals told her that's not going to help. And she just suffered in silence while she was trying to find the answers. And in August of 2017, she has what she called the mother of all flares. And I had to laugh at that because I think we have that in a lot of us have that in our history too, can point to the exact day, time, and hour. It's just crazy. And that's when she really threw herself. And by October of 2017, she made a drastic lifestyle to the ketogenic diet. And that's about removing inflammatory foods from your diet. And in a few weeks, she started feeling amazing with great energy level. We've had Dr. Nisha Winters on talking about the ketogenic diet too, but hers was regarding cancer. And I wanted to talk to Danielle because, first off, we haven't talked about lupus itself. And it's time to refresh ourselves on what the ketogenic diet is and how it may be able to help you, knowing that not all diets work for everyone, but hey, it's worth researching, right? So thanks for being on the show, Danielle.
It's my pleasure. I'm so excited to be here.
Now tell us, what is lupus?
So lupus, there are 3 different kinds of lupus. So one is a discoid lupus, which affects your skin. So people who would get rashes, and stuff all over their body. It could be everywhere, your face, your arms, your legs, all over. Some of them, they lose their hair, eyelashes. So it affects more of the outer of the body. Then the other one is lupus nephritis, which is it involves kidney disease. And the most common is SLE, which is what I have. That's systemic lupus erythemus, and that affects your organs. So it involves organ involvement. You have arthritic pain, a lot of joint pain, gut issues. So that part of lupus, the SLE, can affect basically almost anything, which is why SLE is so hard to diagnose, because it involves so many symptoms that you can't usually pinpoint. So they'll start to test you for Sjorgen's and rheumatoid arthritis, myalgia, multiple sclerosis. They usually don't go directly to lupus when you come in with the symptoms. Most patients, it could take up to 6 years for a lupus patient to be diagnosed, because no one's the same. We're all different, and we all exhibit our symptoms differently. So it's a tough one, which is one of the things that I fight for. I don't know why, when someone comes in and you're testing for all these other diseases, why you don't just add that one to the list. Just
you would think. I thought that especially lupus is more well known than what I was finally diagnosed with too. But mine was a years and years search, because I think the problem with autoimmune is so many of these symptoms, joint pain, fatigue, brain fog, and different organ involvement, and sometimes even the different pains that move, like a few days can be in your abdomen and all of a sudden it's maybe upper in your shoulder or whatever. It's so hard that my doctor at the time explained to me the problem with giving you a label other than it looks like autoimmune is that so many of these symptoms sort of run in the same channel. They're all the same. It's not till you get something that pops you out. And in my case with dermatomyositis, it was all the classic symptoms of dermatomyositis, which is skin involvement and muscle weakness, pops you out that they're able to, okay, that's your label. But as you know, Danielle, and I know so many of my guests can raise their hand on this one too, oftentimes it's not just the one label. Oftentimes people have some lupus or dermatomyositis and
right.
It can be very confusing.
But most autoimmune diseases do come in clusters. So if you talk to most people, they don't just have one. I mean, I have lupus, antiphospholipid antibody syndrome, celiac, and rosacea. And who knows what other things are brewing in there that would that may decide to rear their ugly little head, at any point in time.
I think that's part of the frustrating part of all of this is that you think you've got it handled, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, where'd that come from?
Exactly.
I feel sometimes like I'm playing whack-a-mole, but
I say that all the time. I use the same exact terminology. It's like, what's going to come up next? It's like playing whack-a-mole. That's exactly right.
You and I talked about this when we first met, that it's all about optimizing. I'm not about, sure, absolutely, I'd love a cure. But right now, I'm just all about continue to optimize as much as possible, because they always saying remission, not cure. At
Right.
this point, I don't really care what words we have as long as I'm living my best life possible.
Absolutely. I'm in remission right now. I've been in remission for 2 years now, which has been amazing. There are no inflammatory markers in my blood at all. It's completely clear. And I show signs in my cardiolipin and my ANA. You can see that the disease is there, but it's not functioning. So it's there, dormant. And again, that's that whole, maybe wake up one morning and not be able to go to yoga or get out of bed. And it's scary. I try to do whatever I can to maintain a healthy lifestyle and keep it at bay, keep it where it is, steady, and hope that, people can remain in remission their entire life. So I would love to be able to do that. I'd love to be that person.
For those on audio, she knocked on her forehead. So I just like to say that, because sometimes, not everybody's watching this on the video cast of it. No, I feel the same way. You use the word scary, and I have to say right now it's even more scary because we just don't know. That's how a lot of us are hunkered down, shall we say, and really being extra cautious. And I think we all have to do what we need to do to keep ourselves well.
Is a huge contributing factor to lupus. So with this, I believe today is 104 days that we have been on quarantine and social distancing. I'm in Long Island, New York. So it's been a pretty long time. That's the official date of New York. I started the quarantine about 3 weeks prior to that on my doctor's recommendation that they just felt, and not necessarily because of my lupus, but more because of the blood clotting disorder, believe it or not. So it's been a long time, and there's stress, and stress can bring on a flare. So I've really been trying to keep myself and my own community as uplifted as I can, trying to make sure that everyone that I talk to in my community, that they're okay and they're doing things to maintain a positive well-being, because that stress can throw you right into a flare. So this has been a trying time, a really trying time for people with autoimmune disease.
Oh, it is. It is. And sometimes I have to turn to some of my friends and go, yeah, welcome to my world. So, I mean, sometimes when I get this sort of, I guess I've been locked down too long too. I'm just finding I'm getting a little snarky around things here. Maybe I've been locked down too long myself. But I want to jump into a little bit about stress reduction. I know that you're a certified health and life coach as well as a yoga instructor, and we'll get to keto in a minute, guys. But I just want to talk about how have you found that yoga helps people with autoimmune?
So it keeps them mobile. And even if you're not doing like a strict cardio yoga, something that's a little bit more high intense, but just the mobility itself of being able to do a short, quick flow and moving your body around, because the joints are tense and tight from the arthritic pain and the fatigue. So if you can just move that and get the blood flowing a little bit, it helps with the mobility, which has been proven in a bunch of different studies. If you Google it online, you can find that. I think I've written a couple of blogs about it too. So that's one huge positive. And the other thing is, while you're there, the community is so positive that the energy just being brought into the room is so uplifting that it helps you to have a better mental outlook, at least for that hour. And then when you're coming down into Shavasana and having a meditation, you're now being mindful and you're sitting there with your own self and your own thoughts in the moment. And you're not thinking about anything else. And it's just so peaceful and calming. And I found for myself that I was actually doing the yoga before I even found keto. So I was already kind of loving the community and everything about it. And I have found that with a lot of my clients that I will do a virtual yoga with them, even if they do chair yoga, if they're just sitting in a chair and I have them, stretching and bringing the legs forward or moving their arms over their head in the flowing motion and moving into a next flowing motion, they feel the difference and they enjoy it after. And they say, well, I really feel great. And maybe it took all their energy for the day to do that, but they still feel accomplished and like something took place that day, which is nice,
Oh, absolutely.
To get that.
There's so many benefits from yoga beyond just the stretching. I mean, just moving the lymph system, moving all that lymph around and getting it to excrete and just getting the movement is great. And I think it's
that movement is huge.
Yeah, too easy in our house just to, plant ourselves on the couch. So,
yeah. And I don't know about your autoimmune community, but unfortunately, the lupus community happens to be a very negative community. They have a very negative mindset about their disease. And I'm bedridden and I can't get out and always, that's great that worked for you, but, it has not worked for me. And it's very combative. So it's once you can get somebody who's finally at their wit's end and is really ready to make that change, and not 2 days, not 3 days, but that nice mental change, that they're really ready, they see the difference. And my community needs that. They're in desperate need of positive feedback and people who want to help, who are happy in the community. They need to see that there's another side.
And that's what the Autoimmune Hour is about, that I present a whole bunch of ideas. Some may work for you, some may not, and that's fine. I can't tell you how many I've tried over my 7 years here of diagnosis to optimization here. And some work and some didn't, and that's fine. But to keep trying and to keep moving forward, because each time, whether you check it off and say, nope, that's fine. That's one less thing you have to think about, right? But there's so many things that have helped me, and I continue to add them on. I say optimize one thing every day, and people are like, oh, but look at it. It becomes exponential. It's not just in the end of a year you got 365 things that you've added. They've grown on top of each other. So maybe you've added one vegetable today and you've added another vegetable tomorrow. Well, now you've got 2 vegetables instead of just 1 and 1, right? And then obviously you've got 3 and 4. And the body starts using all this nutrition and you begin to feel better. And so anyway, that's my shorthand of nutrition. We need to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Danielle about the keto diet and lupus, and just lifestyle changes and how it can affect us in positive ways. We'll be right back.
Life Interrupted Radio will return after these messages from our sponsors. It's great sponsors like these that keep this show coming to you every week. Be sure and stop by lifeinterruptedradio.com to learn more.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Sharon, and of course you know me from here on the Autoimmune Hour. Maybe you don't know I'm also an author. My latest book is for kids. It's Pinky Chenille and the Rainbow Hunters, a winner of a 5-star reader's favorite review. It's perfect for your early reader and a great bedtime story for your young adventurers. Check it out over at pinkychenille.com. That's PinkyChenille.com. See you there. Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com, and tonight we're here with Danielle Turco. She's a certified health life coach as well as a yoga instructor, and she also was diagnosed with lupus over 20 years ago and has tried a lot of different holistic treatments and found the ones that work for her. Tonight we're talking mostly about life with lupus as well as the keto diet, which she found made some really amazing changes in her life, including upping her energy level to the point now where over 2 years her lupus has been in remission. So I want to jump in and make sure that we have enough time. Now, everybody throws around this idea of keto, and explain to us, what is the keto diet?
So the keto diet, short, is removing inflammatory foods from your diet. So that's the number one thing that it does. So you remove foods that cause inflammation within your body. And then the second thing is when you take your macros, you utilize fat as energy burn as opposed to carbohydrates and protein. So you're taking in a higher fat, a moderate protein, and a very, very, very low carb intake, because as you know, carbs turn to sugar, and a lot of the body eats the sugar and it promotes disease growing. So we don't really like to, as a health coach, I don't love to promote people eating sugar. And, you have to talk to your doctor first and make sure that that's okay. But usually they'll tell you not to eat so much sugar. So
I want to clarify a little something here. Clarify the difference between good carbs and bad carbs, though, because a cinnamon roll is a carb as well as a veggie is a carb.
That would be more sugar. That would be like, I would consider a cinnamon roll to be more of a sugar, and that's white flour. So keto is also gluten-free. So you wouldn't have anything made with white flour, or, so if I cook something like a cinnamon roll, which let me tell you, I eat them. I'm a sweet tooth girl. I might like myself a cinnamon roll, but I make it with almond flour, and my icing is made from stevia and cream cheese and heavy whipping cream. So I'm not getting that pure cane sugar. I'm just getting that same sweetness, but a little bit differently than everyone else. So you can still enjoy so many of your favorite treats. There's just, you have to change your mindset a little bit of how you're going to make those things. And another huge misconception with the ketogenic diet is that you must have, or you can have, bacon every single day, and you should put butter in your coffee. And there's these crazy things that some people do, but really the premise, and they're doing that to lose weight. But really the premise of the ketogenic diet is for health. So you really want to eat whole, organic, grass-fed, healthy foods. You don't want to go out eating your processed fast foods, running to the store and grabbing something that's already prepackaged in a container. Keto is more about living your best self in a very healthy, holistic, organic way. So that's one of the hugest misconceptions that I have to fight with people on, that they'll say to me, well, how could that be healthy if your cholesterol, you're eating bacon every day? Well, I actually don't eat bacon every day. I don't even know if I eat bacon, twice a month. And when I even first started keto, I was actually vegetarian in the beginning. I had been a vegetarian for 18 years. So that's kind of interesting too, is that I really wasn't even eating those crazy things that people think in the beginning. I was, and as a health coach, I can't even promote telling somebody to eat like that, to say to somebody, have a bacon double cheeseburger every single day. You can do that. Well, no, you can't do that. You shouldn't do that. That's not healthy. And it's not healthy for your customer, no matter what diet you're on. I don't care if you're on whatever's out there. I'm not going to start naming diets and calling anybody out. So no matter what it is, you shouldn't eat like that no matter what. So removing the inflammatory foods is the main premise of it. And you can also do that with the AIP diet, which is the Autoimmune Protocol diet.
Right.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Now, there are a lot of inflammatory foods that people can check off and say that are more common, like gluten, egg, dairy. And those are, except for gluten, but egg and dairy, those types of things are allowed on the ketogenic diet. And you have to make sure that they're not an inflammatory food for you. And I think that's the thing that people misunderstand about all diets, whether it's the API or any of the ketogenic, any of these. It's sort of yes and.
Yes. And I
inflammatory?
always take that into, when I started keto, I incorporated the AIP diet because I wasn't sure which foods were inflammatory for me. And I took both of the diets together and I kind of created my own of what worked for me. And I also want to be very clear that before I did this, I consulted with my rheumatologist just to make sure, because it is a high fat diet and lupus patients can have kidney involvement. And I wanted to just make sure that having all that fat was going to be okay for myself. So before starting anything, you should always consult with your own physician and just make sure that it's okay, that you're going to do something that is going to change your digestive system. So I did do that beforehand. I checked.
Critically important.
Very important.
And to also get someone to guide you through it, whether it's someone like Danielle, a certified health coach, or a nutritionist, dietitian. Your doctors will recommend the right people for you and your condition. But to me, diet was the big change for my lessening of my flares, and not only the lessening of the number of flares, but the length or duration of the flare when it happened. And now I can almost pinpoint, like, oh, doggone, yeah, that was sort of a little cheat over there. And then I'll wake up with some symptom.
Yes.
And I'm like, doggone.
That belly ache will really do you in.
Yeah. But at least now I understand the diet, and that, okay, now I know this led to that for the most part. Sometimes I'll have some weird symptom and I don't know what this led to that, but oftentimes I can go back and pinpoint, doggone it. Okay.
Absolutely. But I removed, which, like you just said, cheese, dairy, eggs, all of that are AIP that you're not supposed to have, but on keto you can. But I did remove them. So I removed all of that from my diet. And then what I did was I slowly brought back in what was allowed on keto. So I took the eggs, and for, I want to say I did like 3 weeks, I introduced in one food at a time. I brought one back in, and I brought them in very, very slowly. So I have found that while rice is not keto, but it is allowed on autoimmune protocol, if I'm going to cheat, because I love Indian food. So if I'm going to cheat, I have found that I cannot have any more than a quarter cup of rice. If I have more than that quarter cup of rice, my body is not happy. It definitely fights me vigilantly. It is not a happy body.
Which is interesting, because for me, I can have all the rice. Rice doesn't affect me. And that's the tough thing about finding a diet, is that somebody can say, well, I don't eat this, this, and this, and this. And you're like, okay. But then you find, well, like in my case, I can eat all the rice I want.
Right. And some people can eat nightshades. Also, they can have all the nightshades they want, which are, potatoes and sweet potatoes, anything that grows under the ground, eggplant. And then there are people that they even look at it and they're like, oh, no, that I can't have those. So, it depends on the person, which is why when you are doing a diet like this, it's very important to work with somebody, unless you're very well versed and you have the patience to go through the actual process of removing it 2-3 weeks, now adding in something else very slowly, seeing how that works with your body, what's the amount that doesn't set you off. So it's a long process, and it took me a really long time. But like I said, I cut everything out immediately. I'm all or nothing. I'm one of those, I'm jumping in head first.
Me too.
Nothing's going to stop me, and I'm doing this. So
that was me. I'm going to solve my autoimmune overnight. I'm going to fix it. I'm going to solve it. So what do? I start a podcast to learn everything. Everything I can learn. And 6.5 years later, I'm still continuing to learn, which is awesome.
That's great. But that's how you learn, right? So you dive in, you go on Google and you figure it out. But, some people need that guidance and that coaching from somebody else. And family support is huge too. When you try to do something like this, there's usually somebody in your family who's saying, I don't want to do it.
Like, I'm not giving up my toast. And so every morning you smell toast. You're like, oh gosh, toast still smells so good.
Yes. So it's nice when, your family rallies around you and they give you that support to be able to do something like that. And I have that. I have an amazing support system. And, I have come up with a couple of real cuckoo things that they've, my family loves me for who I am, and they'll say, oh, here she goes.
There she goes again.
There we go. What crazy thing is she going to be implementing into this house now?
Well, I think the thing to think about with the elimination diet, which is what we were sort of roundabout talking about when we you take a lot of the inflammatory foods that are common out, and because you can't take everything out because you got to eat, right? But you take a lot of the things that are known inflammatory out of your diet and slowly add them back in. A lot of family members can, sometimes and oftentimes, and it's up to you guys, you end up having 2 sets of meals. It's just sometimes that way. It's a lot of family members are like, I'm having my rice, man.
Yes.
I'm having my rice. And that's good. That's fine. But yeah, it does take a lot of negotiation when you have these sorts of things pop up into your world. It is a big change. And I'm not sure that people understand that sometimes you need not just the accountability, but you need someone who gets it.
Yeah.
Because as much as my family loves me and they're accommodating and they understand and they don't pressure me to have that extra cookie or that cookie or because it's a birthday, whatever. It's really nice to sometimes just to talk to someone who's been there, done that, and can acknowledge you in a very affirming way. Yes, you're not insane.
Definitely. It definitely makes a huge difference. But I definitely went from, autoimmune protocol diet into keto just because as a health person and a personal trainer and yoga teacher, and I have a lot of physical certifications behind my name, and I am crazy when it comes to health, realizing for me that fat could be used as a number one source of energy to sustain me throughout the day, which is where it really became more ketogenic with that whole my body utilizing my own fat for energy. So it went from AIP to ketogenic and has taken off from there. And I just really feeling so much better, and it happened quickly. And I noticed the difference more so, which I don't know if this is the same for your disease, but most lupus patients will tell you that the change of season is very difficult on us. Our bodies have a very hard time acclimating from the days that go hot to cold without that consistency. So it's very hard. And so I started keto in October, which is the height of, here in New York, fall. And the weather starts going crazy around here. And I wasn't feeling those same symptoms. I was feeling amazing. My energy level was great. I was doing wonderful. And I just kept going with what it was and waiting for my next doctor's appointment, which was in March of 2018. And I went, and that's when they told me I was in remission. And I sat and I said, when do you have time for me? Because I want to chat. I have some stuff I want to discuss with you of what I'm doing, and I want to know your opinion and what do you think? And I sat with my doctor and we discussed what I was doing. And she said, as a medical professional, I cannot confirm or deny that the ketogenic diet is what did this for you. But if this was me, I wouldn't change a thing.
I think I've heard that from a lot of my specialists in various forms, and not just around diet, but other things that I've chosen to do, whether, a walking program that I joined and, simple things that I didn't think were controversial even. Certain diets can be slightly controversial in the medical community, and understandably. But oftentimes it's, to me, my frustrating point is, oh, you're doing awesome. Just keep doing what you're doing. And I would want to share, so would you like to know what I'm doing? Because I know that I'm beating all the statistics you gave me. I'm not one of those terrible, scary stats you told me about. And they'll, oh, no, just keep doing what you're doing. And I find that so frustrating. Even if someone offers me, and this is always my friends and family in the autoimmune world, I know it's from love, but even if they offer me a suggestion, and whether it's just emotionally, intellectually, I no, Or maybe I try it and it's like, I didn't notice a difference. That's all okay.
Absolutely.
But I'm all about as much information as we can get out there. And if you think it will work for you, you think it's a good idea, talk to your doctors about it and see if they can walk you through it. That's the key thing for me. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this, what little bit I know. I'm not on the ketogenic diet, but there's an area that involves, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as what I understand, it's a timing issue of when you eat and how you eat and the fasting period.
So you can incorporate intermittent fasting into your lifestyle, but that's not a mandatory part of the ketogenic diet. You do not have to do that.
Oh, that's good to know, because I was like, I don't know if that would work for me.
Yeah. You probably do it without even realizing it. Like some people will stop eating, let's say at 8:00 at night, and then they don't put anything back into their body until, 8:00 the next morning. That's 12 hours of intermittent fasting that you didn't even realize you were doing. And you've already put your body into a state of ketosis at that point where it is burning fat only. And a lot of people don't realize it, but a lot of people are already doing it. So
right. Just during the night sleep time. Oh, okay.
Yes,
that makes sense.
Yes, so if you wanted to go to the 16, which would be 8:00 at night, let's say, till 12:00 in the afternoon, you would skip breakfast. And, it's easier than you think. I really do not do too much intermittent fasting. You can't tell from me sitting here, but I'm a thin girl. I'm not a big girl. And, I like to eat. I like my food. I like my snacks, and I'm already in ketosis, so I don't fully see the reason to push my body every day to do it anyway. I like to have cream in my coffee in the morning, and I think my family likes that I do that too, because I wouldn't be so nice if I didn't have my coffee in the morning. I don't know if anyone would want to deal with me. So.
Yeah, that's you know yourself best on what part of this is going to work for you. And as we're talking about this, adding things in slowly is a couple of things for me is I know it's a pain when I say this. People are just going to go, ugh, keeping really good records of what worked and what didn't work and what the change was. I know that sounds weird because
you have to diary, you have to journal. That's huge.
Yeah, because you may have a food that gives you a migraine within hours, or it may be 3 days or more down the road where you're like, okay. And another strange thing about food is, in your case, you can tolerate a small amount of rice.
Right.
But more than that, not so much.
Not so much.
And if you don't keep a food diary, you don't know. You don't know. Was it the rice or was it whatever? Was it
the chickpea?
Lettuce. Yeah, was it the chickpea or the lettuce? At that point, you don't know. And that's why it's really important to keep pretty accurate records of the things that happen to you.
Right. And that's what I do with my coaching. Like I will say to the person, when you ate this food, and I will document it every week for it. Like I'll keep those records for them, which, for them is much easier instead of them having, I send quick texts like, how's today going? How did we do today? And I get that feedback and I keep it in their file of knowing how they're doing. So, that's kind of what I do. And people need to do that too if you're going to do it on your own. And let me be clear, you can do this on your own, but just some people don't have the stamina or will to do it on their own and need that extra push. But this is very doable on your own,
Yeah, it is very doable on your own. And mine isn't so much about stamina or I think mine is just more about feeling heard and part of the community, acknowledged maybe, something like somebody who understands what it's like.
Oh, I get laughed at all the time that it's hocus pocus, it's hokey pokey, who's paying me to say that this works? And the truth is nobody is. And I've actually written to a bunch of doctors and a lot of the foundations, the lupus foundations, basically begging a doctor to do research with me and back it up. And I can't find anyone that will, that wants to. And
hope somebody hears this and says, I'll step up.
Well, yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, because I really do think that diet is becoming, in my journey so far, looking back, when I first mentioned my first rheumatologist turned to me and said, "So, nice to meet you. What are you doing so far?" And I said, "I'm drinking just filtered water. I've given up." And I went through this list of different foods, gluten, things like that I said stopped eating. And then I said, "I'm eating only organic, and this is what I'm eating." And he was very serious, and he looked at me straight in the eye and said, "And none of that is going to help."
Oh.
And I looked at him with the same straight face because, you guys, you listeners, long-time listeners know I can be a bit snarky. I said, and I still feel that I was right, I said, "And it's not going to hurt."
Right.
Because what happened...
Why not, right?
Yeah. What happened was that little evil twin on my shoulder whispered in my ear, "See, I told you could have had the ice cream sundae." Where I really was feeling better that I had given up white sugar. Even though I couldn't prove it because it was just, how I was feeling. I didn't at that time have any records to show anything. But by someone sabotaging me like that, the next thing I did when I left there is I went and had sugar.
Oh, no.
And then for like the next 36 hours, I felt crummy, which reinforced, okay, get rid of the sugar.
Right. Right. Well, they say.
But be careful of those saboteurs out there. If they come in from positions of love or authority, because it could be your grandma going, "But I baked the birthday cake just for you,"
Right. And I think that's what makes it easy to maintain this lifestyle, is because when you know that something's going to set you off and make you not feel well, you tend to stay away from it. You're like, "Oh, that's not going to be good for me later. So I don't think I don't want to deal with that." And that's a lot of what happens to me is I'm kind of like, that's not going to be worth it. So I'm not going to eat it. And I've found so many amazing substitutions in the 2.5 years that I've been doing this diet that it works for me. So I don't miss anything. I have even found keto Swedish fish. So,
Keto Swedish
Yes.
fish. We need to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about what is a keto Swedish fish. We'll be right back.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life, and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for inspired conversations with publisher Linda Joy on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, "Sorry, I'm rambling," you say, "Thank you for listening." Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Autoimmune Hour. I'm Sharon Sayler from SharonSayler.com. And tonight we're talking with Danielle Turco, and she's a certified health and life coach as well as a yoga instructor, and has had lupus for 20 years. And a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, she found the ketogenic diet. And we've been talking about diet and lupus and just I think we've been all around things here, just what it's like to have autoimmune and how to optimize yourself every day. And sometimes it's just nice to hear, someone confirming your sanity about that. But my question is, and I know we're from different parts of the world here, I don't know what a Swedish fish is. And
I will tell you. So let me start by telling you that prior to starting keto, I was a sugar addict. I would buy, which I don't know if you know what this candy is either. I would buy hot tamales. So do you know what?
Okay. I know what hot tamales
I would buy.
See, I didn't know Swedish fish was a candy. In my mind, I'm like, is that like cod?
No, I will tell you. So I was eating a king-sized box of hot tamales every single day. I would keep them in my car, and I would just continue to eat them. And I would sometimes incorporate Swedish fish. So Swedish fish are a little gummy candy, like a cherry flavored, shaped like a fish. And just a gummy fish. I have not found anything to fulfill that, hot tamale craving, but I have found keto Swedish fish, which are delicious. And I don't eat those all the time because they are, so I haven't had white sugar since October of 2017 at all, period. Not in anything, not in a piece of cake, nothing. So when I eat something like a keto Swedish fish that's sweetened with stevia or monk fruit, it's so sweet that my craving is kind of satisfied very quickly. Like I can be done in 3 fish, 4 fish, and I'm okay now. Like I said, I would eat a king size box in a day.
That was the amazing thing that happened to me when I gave up refined sugars was I guess I built up a tolerance to sweetness. And when I gave them up, and then it was at least a year or more before I tried anything sweet. And I went, whoa, that is really, really sweet. It was just a small taste. And it seems like a lot of things that I used to eat a lot of. And now I'm like, whoa, that is really, it's surprising. Yeah. I mean, it was, to me, there's certain spices that still do that to me too.
It's interesting how all of a sudden you could be like, wow, I used to live on that. And now when I go near it, it's so like, I'll taste, like the kids might be eating something and I'll go to taste it. And I'm like, ooh, that's potent. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know that was a lot.
It's funny how the body adapts and adapts well and can actually now after changing my diet, I actually begin to crave the vegetables. I was not a big vegetable eater. I did it sort of out of knowing I needed to do because it was the right thing to do. But the nice thing about when you're, in my case, forced to change your diet, you find ways to make it taste the way you want it to taste. Definitely. And it's interesting to me how my palate has changed in the years that I've found that diet really did help me feel better.
I agree with that. I definitely think that as we mature, our palates mature too. And, when you do all the reading and research like you and I do, you start to read that gut health is overall health. It contributes tremendously to your overall health. And you read that with all different diseases, with cancer and lupus and multiple sclerosis. And they make a huge point in telling you that certain foods can contribute to some of your symptoms. So I think that society and, doctors are getting wiser to diet, where I feel terrible that your doctor told you way back when that, it wasn't going to change anything. But now I think they're more accepting of it. I think most physicians now will say, try it, see what happens, and you're feeling better. And it has shown that, you feel better. I mean, I don't know how anybody can argue that an antibiotic chicken is better for you than an organic chicken.
Yeah. I mean, we have to choose our foods, and oftentimes eating this way is not inexpensive. No. I'm telling you that. But neither is ill health.
Right.
And I have found eating and buying the quality foods is less expensive than a doctor and hospital bills.
Absolutely.
So, because people say, oh, well, is buying organic or buying this or that, going to the farmer's market or going out to the farm and picking it, whatever it is you like to do. And
we're missing work, quite frankly. you know?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're not working. So you have to pick your battles.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I have found, I've had a lot of my friends, regardless of whether they have a diagnosis or not, at least during this time, so many of us are trading recipes. And for me, for a lot of this, been cooking at home just because that way I know what's in the food. Oftentimes, I would go out to eat and get exposed just by happenstance, cross-contamination. It wasn't like anybody was trying to do something nefarious. It was just cross-contamination. And now I'm finding it really fun. We're exchanging recipes now that a lot of my friends are staying home and cooking.
And really broadening the horizons, wouldn't you say? Like I've made, like I said, I like Indian food. I have actually made cod tiki masala, which is something I would never. I'm Cuban and Italian, so that is not something that would have ever come into my wheelbase. That some of the ingredients, gram masala, and my family's like, what?
Yeah, what is that? What is that? No, but I find this fun, is this exploration of it, as well as continuing to add back. I find some people will do the elimination diet and add back, I don't know, a handful, we'll say 10, 12, 15 things, and that's where they sit. That's all they eat. They know these 15 things, 10, 15 things are good for them, and they're like, yeah, well, I'm good here. Let's talk about the importance. We've got 5 minutes left. I want to make sure people know how to get a hold of you. But let's talk about the importance of variety before we have to.
Variety is huge. With everything. Even, how many times do you want to change the bedding on your bed? Or, put a different color clip in your hair, change your earrings. So putting it just on a regular level to see how important it is that we love variety. So your palate loves variety too. And it needs all these different foods. So you should experiment and keep yourself happy. Because if you're eating eggs for breakfast, turkey sandwich for lunch, and grilled chicken on lettuce for dinner every single night, that's going to get pretty boring rather quickly. You're going to hit the wall pretty soon. So you have to have a variety of foods. Is that just something you're looking forward to? I've figured out, as an Italian, how to make my regular Sunday dinner. I have found pasta that's made with almond flour. So I'm able to have on Sundays, Sunday Italian dinner every week, and experimenting with Indian food. And I look forward to that when that I'm going to the store to purchase new ingredients, something different. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to show my family. It's important. And like I said, don't you change your earrings and your shirt and your top every day? Of course you do. You don't want to wear the same thing every day. So why do you want to eat the same thing every day?
And I think it's important to bring in that eat the rainbow, as they say, bring in a wide variety of fruits, vegetables, colors, the whole thing. And right now I'm enjoying a lot of the berries. So be sure and eat the seasons, as I say too, because get those fresh berries right off the vine is just ideal.
Well, the antioxidants, they're amazing for you too. So they're great for the body.
Well, we're just down to 3 minutes. You and I could just keep chatting forever. And I thank Crystal for introducing us. And
yes.
Tell us how people can know more about you and where they can get more information.
So you could learn more about me on my website, which is ketolupi.com. So that's KETOLUPIE.com. And then I post a lot on my Instagram, and that is at Keto Lupi, same exact name. And on there is some motivational stuff, tons of recipes, little blogs, just all kinds of different exercises. I post yoga workouts, all kinds of stuff are on there. And then you can probably keep a lookout because I'm in the process of finishing up my book, which is going to be talking about lupus and ketogenic diet. And it will be full of recipes. It's going to be a cookbook. So that I'm in the process of finishing now. Hopefully that'll be done by the end of the year. And that's basically, you can get in touch with me. And I'm very interactive. So if you do reach out to me, I will answer and I will get back to you. Don't leave anybody hanging.
Fantastic. KetoLupi.com. We'll have that over at understandingautoimmune.com as well if you are unable to write that down as we chatted about it. But first, Danielle, thank you for being a guest and explaining lupus and about your successes with the keto diet and how you help other people as a certified health and life coach understand their journey through optimization and wellness. And everyone, have a great week, whatever your adventures, and be sure and join me next week for another brand new episode. And check us out. Get over to Understanding Autoimmune on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's all the same, Understanding Autoimmune. And then understandingautoimmune.com is the webpage to find this episode, as well as about, we're closing in on 300 episodes. So you'll find something for everybody there. Everyone, have a great week. Whatever your adventures, enjoy.
The information provided on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, including the websites understandingautoimmune.com and lifeinterruptedradio.com, plus social media, is for educational purposes only. What you read, hear, and see on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio, and its websites, and other media outlets is based on experience only. The information should never be used for any legal, diagnostic, or treatment purposes. Always seek sound legal, medical, and or professional advice regarding any problems, conditions, and any of the recommendations you see, hear, or read here on the Autoimmune Hour, Understanding Autoimmune, and Life Interrupted Radio.
Research shows we apologize up to 10 times a day, and most of the time, we say sorry as a response to someone else's mistake. What if we thanked people instead of all that unnecessary apologizing? So instead of saying, sorry, I'm rambling, you say, thank you for listening. Join us at projectforgive.com, a free, non-religious resource on global forgiveness.
Do you want to be a better leader, have better relationships, become more self-aware, be a better communicator? Hi, I'm Sharon Sayler, best-selling author, professional speaker, and executive coach. And my life passion is empowering professionals to be the best that they can be. After years of working with professionals, I've discovered the 7 things nobody is telling you that can cost you your clients, sales, and even your career. And I want to give it to you free. You've heard my show, you know my passion, and maybe we'll be working together sooner rather than later. So go grab this ebook now to find out the 7 things that's costing you big time over at SharonSayler.com/radio gift.